All right, question. Are you a jackal or a giraffe? I'll give you a second. You're probably waiting for context to help you answer that question. And I'm not going to give it to you, but remember your answer because our speaker is going to help you figure that out. Our next speaker is going to have a discussion about NVC, or nonviolent communication. This talk is actually a really good supplement to our earlier talk about fostering psychological safety. If you'd like to be able to connect more effectively to teammates, friends, coworkers, partners, really whoever, these NVC techniques could be really helpful. A university professor and GDC scholar, right here for Gamedev of Color Expo, please welcome to the stage Miriam Melgoza.
Hi and welcome everyone. Let's talk about bringing nonviolent communication to lead with kindness. Thanks for the opportunity to the Gamedev of Color Expo, and let's get to it. Hi, my name is Miriam Melgoza. I have a graphic design degree, but I'm focused in art direction and game development for the past 8 or 9 years in this industry. And currently, I enjoy very much my role as a university professor and mentor. It's been a lot of fun being able to teach about game development in different areas. So these are all the companies that I've been being involved in some sort of role directly correlated to game development. And here are my social media. If you ever want to contact me, feel free to do it. So as game developers, we have a lot of challenge to tackle on. And one of the things that I have found out to be a persistent one is miscommunication when we're working with others. So of course, this can lead to have a lot of teams be with frustration, resentment, burnout, and sometimes, and sadly, leading out to members to drop out really good projects. And at first, I thought that it was a little bit of a cultural thing that probably was just happening in my area. But then when I started to join a little bit more international teams, I realized that it was a common issue that I really wanted to focus on. So back in the day, I hired organizational psychologists that help us to do a better understanding of the issues that we were having. And therefore, I tried to look on my own research and how to improve my communication style with my members. In my personal need to get better in my communication, I got stumbled with nonviolent communication, or NVC for short. So here's a quote by American psychologist Marshall Rosenberg, that says, "To practice the process of conflict resolution, we must completely abandon the goal of getting people to do what we want." But Miriam, we're talking about leading teams and we need goals to be achieved. So how are we going to do that if people will be doing whatever they might want? So let's get to it and find a new strategies in order to get things accomplished. So Marshall Rosenberg offers these two illustrative visual metaphors for these styles of communication, because let's remember, these are just styles. So he goes by jackal and giraffe. So what happens with the jackal? Why a jackal? Because they're usually opportunistic predators that can benefit from having another prey to hunt for their prey, right? So one of the things that this style of communication prioritizes is get what they want and being right. And it usually looks as an automatic reaction. They tend to blame, demand, or manipulate in a situation. They want revenge or punishment. They feel the need to control the other person. And finally, they do not assume any responsibility when it comes to an issue. And the giraffe is one of the mammals that have the largest heart of the land mammals. So that's a metaphor for being empathetic with others. So what this style of communication prioritizes: the care of oneself with others in mind, and seeking inclusive solutions. How can we get to better results together? So it's a conscious response. It usually connects with feelings and needs. It empathizes with others and takes accountability in their part when there's an issue. And finally, seeks to enrich life. So I want you to look at which style of communication you might be adopting, and maybe try to get a little bit more close to the giraffe and have a better style of communication. So how do we do that? Well, usually we tend to go by poles. We either go by aggressive, which is not appreciating others or not listening or imposing a point of view in any conversation. Or the other one, which is passive. That might sound a little bit better when you think about it, but it has its own situations. It could end up in being people pleasing or being confusion and incongruous when it comes to the message and actions. And usually, if the responsibility is being left by others. So we don't take any accountability in the situation that might be happening. We want to get to this point where we are assertive and we get to listen to each other, we get to share our point of view, and we're honest and clear with our communication. In order to achieve it, we need to learn the 4 pillars of nonviolent communication. So this is the first pillar. It's observations. What we need to do is describe the facts that are happening objectively, focusing on what is actually happening rather than interpreting or evaluating the situation. We usually, when there's an issue bubbling up, we usually tend to be a little bit judgmental. It's okay. It happens to best of us. So let's put in a scenario where this might be applied. So let's pretend that Sam is a coworker of us and he delivered late a character sheet. So we usually tend to adopt this kind of communication where we say like, oh, Sam is such an irresponsible person. But maybe we should just address what happened. For instance, hey, Sam, I noticed that you missed the deadline. So that's a non-judgmental observation and a fact of the thing that just happened. The second pillar would be feelings. Here, you're going to be able to express your emotions related to the observation. So it's important to articulate how you feel rather than what you think. So right now, it's a good place to take a little bit step back and feel what we're feeling. So we might say, hey, Sam, I'm feeling a little bit frustrated because the character designs didn't make it on the deadline or the goal that we were trying to achieve. So that's okay. Feelings are okay. So are pretty valid, but just be respectful when communicating them. The third pillar would be needs. So it's understanding the feeling that often reveals the underlying need. Once you start to understand what made you feel, you're going to start to focus on what's the need that needs to be met. And state the need clearly and without any judgment, again, to address it effectively. So maybe in this scenario, we could say, hey, Sam, you didn't make it on time. It made me feel a little bit frustrated and worried or concerned about if we're going to make it on time for the whole project. So I need you to communicate me whenever you're falling behind so we can approach to a better result. So we are getting to our fourth and final pillar, which is request. And we need to make clear and specific requests to address the need in hand. So ask directly what you want rather than hinting or stating what you don't want. That would make you a little bit more passive in your style of communication. So be direct. And you can ask, Sam, could you please, on the next time that you might be falling behind, let me know beforehand so we can ask another team member to help you out with those assets? That would be a better solution. And that's how you would be applying nonviolent communication to your team. But let's keep on reviewing a few other strategies that might help us. So when it comes to feedback, let's think of it as a tool. So take into consideration this small list, some of the tips that you might be needing in order to give proper feedback, and it's going to be easier for both sides. So keep it balanced, find what's good and what's can be improved, be timely, do not take any advices after you set the deadline because that's going to hinder the project. Be selective, be specific, say about, if it's going to be about a color, say specific, this color does not work. Offer suggestion, maybe we should change it to orange. And be descriptive because it's going to help us to see better the character on screen. And of course, again, be direct. When it comes to motivation, it's best to get to know your team better by understanding their goals and objectives, and this can help them create new strategies to keep the motivation going and enhance teamwork. So let's keep in mind that probably people have different goals and objectives when it comes to working on a team. So one of a few things to keep in mind is best practices to share information, to be transparent about what the project is going on, where it's leading, and what are the final goals. To remember that everyone is unique. That's something that helped me to understand a little bit better. Maybe a few of the teammates are a little bit more rookie in this area, and others are a little bit more seasoned. So get to know them and get to set up new strategies for each kind of different role in your team. Remove obstacles, make their life easier by maybe taking off a little bit of paperwork and just letting them do their jobs as their role is indicated. Make achievable objectives, make it to break it down to take to the goal, because at times one task can be super huge. So we need to break it down to make it a little bit more easy to approach. And finally, but not least, thank your team. It takes no effort to say thanks. And when people feel recognized, they feel better about their achievements and their work and their passion put on these projects. And finally, according to Dr. Amy Edmondson, a professor at Harvard, she talks about this concept of psychological safety in our work environment. So she takes these two approaches where it comes to high and low accountability and safety. So when we have low accountability, we will experience anxiety. It comes where in a team, you feel like there's a lot of pressure, or people are always signaling where you made mistakes. So we wouldn't be too thrilled about going that kind of work environment, right? We have a little bit more safety, but still low accountability. People will tend to be a little bit apathetic when it comes to working. And we still don't want that kind of motives or motivations in the work environment. When it's a little bit more high on psychological safety, but still low accountability, we're going to be on our comfort zone. We're going to get in things done, but we won't be as innovative or try to be working in this environment. So where we want to be at, we want to be in the learning zone or in the learning quadrant, which is where high accountability and high psychological safety takes place, where you take mistakes as a part of the learning process of a team, and you encourage people to make mistakes in order to learn. So a few ways to make this happen for you as a leader is encouraging open communication, where you make members feel comfortable about sharing even their mistakes or their mishappenings when it comes to a team project. Model vulnerability, where you show that you don't know all the answers, and that's why you have a cool team of experts that will aid you on your quest on this game, for instance. And finally, respond positively to feedback. It's a two-way channel. So you need to be as open to receive that feedback and to give it. So let's try to make this space safe enough for everyone to just be their best version of themselves and be able to work as comfortable as they can. So this will be the end of my talk. Thank you so much for being able to listen till the end. And if you ever need to keep on discussing nonviolent communication, here are my social media. And thank you so much. See you around.
Miriam, thank you for that talk. Now, folks, be honest. Did you say you were a jackal or a giraffe? And how accurate were you? All right, you don't have to tell me. But I'm really thankful for conversations like this. I think that being able to be vulnerable is just such an important skill. Being able to walk into a potentially tense or harmful situation with that big giraffe heart, trying to slow things down, it can be pretty intimidating. But I do believe in its ability to help us make meaningful connections. And I think you'll see that be a recurring theme through some other parts of Game Devs of Color Expo as well. So thank you for sharing those skills with us, Miriam. Folks, if you would like to keep up with Miriam Karina Melgoza, please follow her over on Instagram at _MKMArt or on Twitter at Miriam Karina.